We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
So on Friday, January 31st, Donald Trump decided to impose his tariffs on our neighboring allies as well as another country, China. So he imposed a 25% tariff on Canada. This includes dairy products, lumber, building materials. A lot of lumber comes into the United States from Canada. They are a huge supplier of lumber for the U.S. Car parts, gas and energy. A lot of our natural gas, oil for our automobiles come from Canada. We do a lot of drilling here in the United States, but a lot of that is not used for our fuel because it's mostly crude sand oils that come out of here in the States. But there are some other areas in our country that do provide fuel for our cars, but most of it comes from Canada. And then fish and seafood. Okay, so now Mexico. Let's see what Mexico does. So Mexico does a lot of food produce. Mexico is one of the largest exporters of produce to the United States of America. That means the cost of like fruits, vegetables, and other agricultural products will greatly increase in pricing, especially avocados and tomatoes. Just like with Canada, cars and car parts, a lot of car factories are in Mexico, and those cars, once they're built, get sent up here to the States. Beer and tequila. Mexico is a big production in tequila and beer. And I just love the beer one because I think back to I think it was 2 years ago where Republicans were having their big meltdown over one beer can at Bud Light having a trans person on it. A beer can that was never actually going to see production because it was just a promotion. And they lost their minds, boycotted it, and they went instead to buy Modelo, beer from Mexico. Which is funny because Republicans are the ones to say America first, right? Yet they go bit Mexican beer instead. Let's continue. Electronics. A lot of electronics like televisions are made in Mexico. And then of course there is the China. Trump's and Republicans for that matter. Their big arch nemesis. Yet what's funny to note is how they have the weaker tariff compared to our two closest allies. It's kind of funny how they get the weaker one, but when you know Donald Trump, it's not too surprising, which I'll get into in here in a minute. So electronics, big supplier of electronics. They send a lot of that over to the States. Furniture, big producer of furniture. A lot of your furniture you have in your household, I guarantee, are made in China. Clothing and textiles, that's pretty well known. We all know a lot of our clothing we wear comes from China. Some will come from the States, but majority of it is going to come from China. And this is where I love it. So Trump's red hats, made in China hats. You got his Trump flags, made in China. You got his autographed Bibles, made in China. You got his gold sneakers that were going for $600, made in China. You got his suit line, made in China. His necktie line, made in China. His daughter Ivanka Trump has 18 Chinese business patents. And I just love how they go on and on about China, yet Trump and his family are in bed with China. And I want to go back to that electronics one for China. You know, China produces a lot of computers and gaming devices for the gaming community. And I've noticed over the past few years a lot of gaming YouTubers, neckbeards as some people like to call them, a lot of them are right-wingers. And I would love to see how these guys are going to respond when they see that their computer and the computer parts go up in price. Specifically those like Asmongold, the Quarterly, Yellow Flash, Babyface Heels. All these guys have had meltdowns over the past year over a game where it's pronouns or they don't like how a woman has purple hair, you name it. So I'm gonna enjoy watching these guys have meltdowns when all their products go up. And I'm just going to point back to it was their boy Trump, but of course they'll have excuses why it's not Trump's fault. In response to Donald Trump imposing these tariffs, Canada, Mexico, and China also imposed retaliatory tariffs on the United States on any products going into the United States. And boy, let me tell you, it's gonna hurt, and it tanked the economy. I did a YouTube short over the weekend discussing one of these two ones. I'll leave a link in the description for you, as well as a card up above the top of the screen that will take you to there. And Donald Trump tanked the economy on just that one move alone when he imposed those tariffs. The Dow Jones, S&P 500, you name it, a lot of markets crashed. Because, once again, it shows Donald Trump doesn't have a single clue as to what the hell he is doing in that White House. He has no goddamn clue. And many Canadians throughout the country of Canada have shown what they think of Donald Trump and his tariffs. Throughout several sporting events throughout the country of Canada over the weekend, my Minnesota Wild were playing the Senators on one of these games, and let me tell you, the Canadians booed during the national anthem. And normally, they sing along with the United States national anthem because they've always respected the United States. But Canadians were letting Donald Trump and the United States know they're not taking kindly to these tariffs. And after all the heat Trump took over the weekend, we are here on Monday, February 3rd, and Donald Trump has officially caved into the tariff threats made by Canada and Mexico. China, no, that one is still on the table. But for now, at least, Mexico and Canada those tariffs will be delayed for about a month as they continue to negotiate a deal. For the meantime, it's delayed because, according to many news outlets, that Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has agreed to send 10,000 of her military forces to the border to help with border security and keep tracking down and preventing drugs from leaving from crossing the border, I would say. Which, of course, isn't really anything new because this happened. Claudia and Joe Biden have done this same thing every single year. There's nothing new to this. There's nothing new that Donald Trump did. Of course, MAGA and those over on the MAGA sphere are going to claim that this is a big win, that big old Daddy Trump got them a big old win here. Daddy Trump reined them in. Settle down, Trump tarts. Donald Trump has reined in nobody on this matter. All he has done in this time is just shown what a big buffoon he really is and that he has no idea what the hell he is doing in all this. And the same goes for Canada. What he's doing with Canada, the agreement they came out upon today, is nothing new. The same thing happened under Joe Biden. Alright, you guys didn't win. Stop pumping your chest. You didn't do anything special today. But of course, like clockwork, Donald Trump is taking credits, trying to rein himself in as some hero when he didn't fix anything. The only thing he fixed is the problem he started. And that's pretty much what always happens with Donald Trump. He creates a problem, claims he's going to fixes it, and then parades himself around like he's some golden messiah. He's not. He's a dumbass that was born on third base and thinking he hit a triple. And that's been his whole moniker his whole life. And it pretty much goes with his Trump supporting base as well. They're idiots that think they're smart.